Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. This week, we're going to discuss a little bit about our Oklahoma governor, Kevin Stitt, some of the things he's been saying recently in the press and the press releases and press conferences he's been giving on the COVID status in our state, and just picking apart some of the things he's said that just don't have a validity, a truth to them. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to a lot of things that's happening here in Oklahoma, but our governor's been out in the spotlight a little bit in the last week or two talking about the COVID situation here in Oklahoma. And he said a few things that a lot of people kind of take exception to, and it's blatantly false. It's like, hey, I'm the governor, you got to listen to me. This is what I'm telling you, you just got to believe what I tell you. And that's not really how it works, especially in a small state like Oklahoma. You can see it. And here's Governor Stitt coming out trying to whitewash what he's been doing with the COVID thing. And here we are, Oklahoma, last in the nation when it comes to tracing, when it comes to per 100,000 people that have COVID, to everything else that we're doing. No mask mandates, no mandates whatsoever. We're not even going to do anything when it comes to vaccinations, hardly, to push that because we're a bunch of anti-vaxxers over here. And this is what we get here in Oklahoma. We have a dangerous situation where we have people in our state government that just really don't care about the people of the state and their health. They don't. They care about a few things. One, money. They care about the money. They care about where the money's coming from, where the money's going, and what we're going to do with it, and how they can implement better conservative policy to squash it to the Dems with that money. That's what they care about. They don't really care about this COVID hoax thing that they see going on. Okay, it's affected my grandma here, maybe an aunt over there, but for the most part it's not affecting me, so I really don't care about it. Send your kids to school full time. And this is where we're at with the Republican Party in Oklahoma today, especially when we have Senator Dom, who's going to come out with a slew of bills that he's put in. One, against mask mandates whatsoever. You can't put in a mask mandate if you're a municipality, if you're a county, or anything else. We're going to squash that small government, local control, with the big government of conservative politics. That's what Nathan Dom wants to do with that. And let's go on, he's got another bill against mandatory vaccinations as well. Not only that, we're going to go further, and what we're going to do is the State Department of Health is going to go ahead and scrap a video recommending parents watch it to vaccinate their kids. That's how far we're going to go with this anti-vax stuff. That it's some kind of deep state, kind of lizard people thing, going to plant a chip into you with that needle. That's really what some of these people are thinking, and some of those people are influencers, obviously to the governor and others as well, and that's the kind of policy we get here in Oklahoma today. We've got a bunch of scared people running around thinking people are going to do mean stuff to them, and really it's professionals in the medical industry who've come up with the vaccine and everything else, and the pharmaceutical companies, they don't want to try to harm anybody. They're in a business model to help people. It's really what they do, and especially the doctors with their professional license, they don't want to do that, but I get it. Certain politicians, they're politicians, and that's what certain Republican conservative politicians know. They know all the deceitful little dirty things they do, so they assume everybody else is doing the same thing. So we get Kevin Stitt here, comes out with some press conferences. Let's say the first thing he does, he wants to come out with one item and says, hey, hospitalizations in Oklahoma have been relatively flat. They're flat. Except for if the 50% increase in the last 3 months, if you take out that 50% increase in the last 3 months, well, we're pretty flat. Kind of see, that's his argument with that. If you only take this little section here over on this shelf by this item, kind of reminds me of that part of The Jerk where he's in the carnival deal, they're going, yeah, you win this prize over here. Is kind of what That's kind of what they're doing. That's kind of what they're doing with this when he's saying, yeah, if you take out all this and you just look at this little portion here, well, yeah, there's no increase in hospitalizations. Well, one thing is we kind of plateaued. Whenever you hit max capacity, you kind of hit max capacity. There's one thing, right? We've hit max capacity, so man, that thing's just flatlined out. But really, Even at that, we have a 50% increase in hospitalizations in the last 3 months. That's a big jump. That's a big increase. And he just wants to downplay that. He wants to downplay it. He doesn't want to take it serious because, see, it's not good for Kevin Stitt if he does take it serious. If he takes it serious, well, then he looks like a loser who didn't do anything. But really, it's just the opposite. If he would just grab it by the horns and just take some leadership and go, hey, by God, we're going to get out of this COVID mess, and here's how we're going to lead it. I got these experts in the field, not people, that cronies, that have money, that paid me for the seats. No, real people, educated, learned, wisdomized, experienced people in their fields, leading this, taking advice from them, but that's not what he does. That's not what Kevin Stitt does. And that's not what conservatives do today. It really isn't. It's all about the plutocracy. It's all about who has the gold makes the rules. It really is, and I've said this before at other shows and other seasons, but that's truly one of the tenets of conservative thinking. He who has the gold makes the rules. It's total plutocracy. It's totally, you can see it everywhere. You can see it with Citizens United decision, all the way down to the dark money groups and monies that are being played for there. It's just the way it is, and that's just the way they see it. The other thing I want to talk about, and it's outlandish enough that he's saying it's flatline 50%, but really the other thing he was talking about in another conference was schools. Okay, he's ready for schools to be opened up full time because, having them shut down like they are and only doing virtual learning or the way we're doing it with AB schedules, well, that's making the governor look bad. It's making Stitt look bad. So we got to put our lives, we got to put our kids' lives at risk. We got to put my life at risk, my grandparents' life at risk, their grandparents' lives at risk, aunts, uncles, whoever, because Kevin Stitt doesn't look good, because the state has the schools shut down, because we, again, following guidelines put in place about when to shut down schools, did that. So that makes Kevin Stitt look bad. Hey, guys, you're making me look bad. Can't you just die for me? Can't you do that? I mean, come on. It's me, right? And that's pretty much how Kevin Stitt sees it. And as long as he's doing okay, well, then he feels everybody else ought to too. And that's just Kevin Stitt's thinking in this. So he's got this mandate that he's not mandating, comes out saying that schools need to open. That's his only mandate, right? We're thinking, oh man, maybe he should do a mask mandate, or maybe some kind of social distancing, or some kind of, public announcement campaign on how to better take care of ourselves health-wise during the pandemic. That might be something that I think they ought to look at. That'd be cool. Some kind of public service announcement campaign on helping people with hygiene, what they should do, social distancing, proper mask wearing, anything else that may be helpful. But they won't do it. That's just not conducive to Stitt, and he feels like it doesn't make him look good politically, so why would he want to do it? It's only going to help people out. That's all it's going to do. Maybe keep a few people from dying. That's all. It's not going to help him politically, so there's no will for him to do that. So you get this. You get this mandate that schools need to open full-time, rest of the year, and you just need to do that, even though Stitt is not going to do anything to mitigate the virus. We're not doing anything for it. It's almost like he wants you to get it. And I believe maybe that is where he's at. That's where he's at with this, I think, in a lot of ways, because he's one of those herd immunity guys. He's one of those anti-vaxxer, herd immunity people. Let's go have a COVID party and let everybody get it so we can all get over it quicker. And those that die, well, they were just the weak ones anyway. And this is conservative thinking. It really is. All the way down to it. It's very barbaric to me. And draconian in a lot of ways, that they would say, hey, we just need to get as many people infected as possible so we can all get over it. And that's how they see it. It really is how some of these wackos over there really see it. And so you get Kevin Stitt coming out saying, hey, we're going to have schools open for the rest of the year, and I'm not going to put in any kind of mask mandate for schools. Schools don't have to follow mask mandate. They don't have to do any kind of social distancing or anything. Actually, don't have to do nothing. Don't have to do a thing, but they have to open. So that's the other thing there. Here we are, conservatives, with their small government stance, small local control, here we go, but they're kind of against that local control if it goes against Republican conservative policies that they feel should be in place. Like, hey, if you're wearing masks, then social distance, wear a mask. But you know what? He doesn't want to implement that as a mandate. As a matter of fact, he goes so far as to cynically say, this is so cynical, in his policy, hey, if you're a school whose policy is you wear a mask and social distance, everybody has to, in his policy, now get this, big news right here, if that's your policy for your school, that you social distances and wear masks, then if you're sick, you don't have to quarantine. You don't have to quarantine those people. They don't have to social distance. They don't got to quarantine. They don't got to do anything. They're sick. You're wearing a mask, right? That's his deal. That's the whole conservative argument. Well, if you're wearing a mask, you should be protected, right? And that's their whole fallacious argument in this. Well, everybody's wearing a mask. Nobody should get it, even if they're sick. So they should be able to go to school if there's a mask mandate in place for that school. And really, it's a way for conservatives to take the power they got and impose that power upon people that are using or doing policy they disagree with. They disagree with a mask mandate. They disagree with it. You got Senator Dom coming out with a bill totally against anyone instituting a mask mandate. So they're against it. So this is a way to punish those Democrats or those people they perceive as liberal. We're going to stick it to the liberals by giving policy that says, you know what? If you're a school that has a mask mandate and social distancing, well, if your teachers and students are sick, they don't have to quarantine anymore. That's so cynical. That's so putting people at risk by doing that. They're still sick. It doesn't matter. That's just so out there. I can't hardly fathom anyone actually thinking that that's a good idea. We're going to take these sick people with this disease that's killing people, killing lots of people, and you know what, we're just going to stick them with you because, you know, we don't like mask mandates, we don't like social distancing, and we really want to stick it to Democrats, so we feel this is a good way to do it by taking the power we have to force that upon you. I think that's just so cynical, and I really thought that was a really disgusting point that he brought into this thing. If you just can't believe it, I just got to say it again. If you're a school that has a mask mandate in place and social distancing, then if your teachers and kids are sick, they don't have to quarantine. Think about that. That's who we have leading this state. We have a guy, Kevin Stitt, and others in the legislature who really believe this. This is what they believe. This is the policy and stances they want to champion. Really is the hill they want to die upon here with the COVID-19, making sure everybody gets the COVID that they don't like preferably. And if we can stick it to the Democrats and liberals by putting in this policy of no quarantining if you are following a mask mandate and social distancing policy, I mean, that's just outlandish to me. Another point I want to make with Kevin Stitt and the way he's going at schools the way he is, it's really a divisive way he's doing it. And I think he knows it. What he's trying to do is he's taking the students and the parents and he's dividing them off from the teachers and the administrators by what he's doing. That's exactly what he's doing. He's playing a division game. I'm going to divide these people up and then we're going to conquer them with Epic taking over the whole works, and we're going to privatize the whole education system here in Oklahoma. That's basically what we can tell them. We can rewrite history. We can rewrite math and science. We can rewrite that stuff. We can tell them climate change isn't real. Climate change always happens, or climate change isn't as bad as they say. And that's exactly what they want. This is a lot more to do with their political stances and feeding that to the younger generation than it does with educating our kids. Well, Kevin Stitt has come out with a couple of press releases and conferences talking about COVID, how hospitals are doing fine, and we need to send our kids back to school full time because I got this study that I'm totally going to manipulate, pick and choose out of it what I want to make it look like it's safe to totally send our kids back to school. And these doctors and people tell me it is, even though they come out and say, hey, it's totally misconstruing what we have in there. So that's what you got with the failure of leadership that's called Kevin Stitt in the state of Oklahoma. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this show this week. I'm Kit Fairchild with Across the Desk, and yeah, we'll see you next week.